They take their seats now, waiting to see him. Ah, there we see the two again. Well, I think we've seen these two before, haven't we? Yep, Arnold Schwarzenegger and his friend. Yes, I think he's having a bit of a hearing problem. Let's take a closer look at that. There's something wrong with his other ear now as well. I have a clue what that is. And it's an all-celebrity turnout. At the back there we see our guests from the Muppet Show. I think it's in both of them.
Without any further ado, we'll just get started, huh? I'm just going to go get some wax. Sure. Yeah, don't put them all on at once, but... we've already worked out twice today. Brought a couple friends of mine along with me. Jamie Reeves from Sheffield, Britain's Strongest Man, and my friend from the Forum Gym in Birmingham, Chris Wogan. We've already done shoulders and chest. And then we practiced an event for the Strongman show, which was carrying barrels, a pretty good sized barrel. We both close this afternoon, and I don't mind doing a few more benches. I don't know about talking him into doing any more lifting, but I'll be happy to do that. Play with some dumbbells, do a little bit of an exhibition of strength. In any seminar, it's really your time to actually you meet me, hear all some of the things that I've done, where I've been, and that sort of thing. A lot of my experiences that I'll relate. But it's your time to ask any questions later on in the seminar. What your curiosities are. Maybe find out some of the things you were reading in magazines that are true or aren't true, and some of your favorite lifters that I might have met you want to hear about. That sort of thing. Guys like Jeff Cates, John Paul Simmers, some of the best guys in the States, Fred Hatfield, and Dave Waddington, John Gamble, I compete against guys like that. I'll give you a little background on myself. It's kind of hard for us all. Should I just keep spinning around? You don't have a little twister where I can just sort of spin around a couple times, Dave. Myself, I was really fortunate in powerlifting, which is a sport that I started off in after playing football in high school and college and doing wrestling and running track and field. I was always rather quick, sprinter in a track team and a shot put at the same time. I had really strength. You can't film me if I'm looking this way. I'm trying to keep it low so you don't get my bald spot.
Side on, be alright.
But, so I've done a few sports other than powerlifting, but that's the one that I excelled at most rapidly. And way back when I was a kid, I was able to, in 5th grade, just at 11 years old, I was able to press my own weight over my head. But we still really didn't do any organized weight training. It wasn't until, even through high school, we didn't do any lifting. I was all state as a running back, football. I went to state in wrestling, I went to state in track and field, throwing shot put, and running the 100. Things moved right along through college. I wasn't able to make the football team, and I got into powerlifting. There was a fellow who was really big, 6'1", 315 pounds. At the time, he had the American record in the deadlift at 805 pounds. He was a 780-pound squatter and a 580-pound bencher. He was one of the latest powerlifting USA magazines, the legend of Bubba in Madison, Wisconsin. And this fellow impressed me so much. He was so big. I maybe weighed 240 at the time without really lifting any weights. I pretty much went under his tutorage, started doing the power lifts. We did some pretty crazy things when I got started. We didn't have that much organized training before, so a friend of mine and I, the first 30 days of training, we never missed a day. We overtrained probably. We'd do 25 sets of bench presses, and then we'd come back in the afternoon because we decided that the workout wasn't that good. We'd go out and maybe eat a pound of raw meat, drink a gallon of milk, and come back and do the same 25 sets of benches all again. We really didn't know what we were doing. But I progressed rather rapidly within just 6 months. Well, my first meet after 2 months, I was able to do 400 in the bench, close to 600 in the squat, and 650 in the deadlift. And it wasn't, but about 6 months later, I went to the national meet, 8 months, and won that at a 275-pound class. The following year, I won the world championships, so that was just over 2 years of training. And in the third year, won the world's strongest man competition, won 3 of those in a row. To bring you right along, the president, after 3 years of world's strongest man in the last competition, out of 10 men in 10 events, including Jeff Gates, I won 6 firsts, 2 seconds, a third, and a fourth. And they started to see that I was just dominating too much, so they stopped inviting me to the competitions. They actually told me they weren't going to have any more, but it turns out they had 4 more, where Capes won 2 and Sigmarsson won 2. That's put me off a little bit over the years. I stopped lifting because I wasn't invited, and I won the world championships in powerlifting late '83. And did businesses in '84 and '85, and then worked really hard to make more money. There's not too many lifters I'm concerned with when they dedicate their life to lifting. But in '86, I started doing professional wrestling, and I went into Canada. And I didn't have to go to a school to learn it, but I just started right in the ring. And I'm sure you know the man Davey Boy Smith, British Bulldogs. They wrestle out of New York. Now, he was the first man that I wrestled the first night, and he was really helpful because I didn't know what I was doing at all. He pulled me right through the match. I wrestled about 200 matches over a year's time. And then just last summer, I was enticed to doing the Ultimate Challenge at the Huntley Castle against Capes and Sigmarsson. I'd already beat Capes 3 times, so I figured it'd be real easy to just go ahead and nail him again. And this new guy, Sigmarsson, well, Capes had already beat him twice, so I figured it wouldn't be too much of a problem. I trained for about 8 weeks, mainly doing the power lifts, doing a little bit of running, doing plenty of power bodybuilding, a lot of upper back and arm work. I didn't really practice any events because they wouldn't tell me what the events were. Just a week before the competition. To get me to commit, they actually said, Bill, you can decide what some of the events are, which is it's kind of important what you're going to test in a strongman competition. I said, great, then I'll do it as long as I can decide 2 or 3 out of 8 events. And then a couple weeks before, they called me and said, well, Bill, these are the events. And I said, gosh, wait a minute, I sure didn't get any input. They said, well, as long as when we're doing the deadlift, you give me a deadlift bar. I said, sure, no problem, Bill. When I got to the competition at the Huntley Castle, we had a big pair of wheels and a block of steel that was maybe 1.5 inches thick and 4 inches across. It didn't look too much like a deadlift bar. And I had a real hard time holding it. But John Paul Sigmarsson, with his fantastic grip strength, was able to hold it rather easily. Needless to say, that competition at Huntley Castle was great for John Paul. It was run and organized by his promoters, people who handle all of his affairs for him. king calves of the strongmen, and Capes dropped out after the first day, so he really couldn't hang in there. But lo and behold, we had a chance at John Paul Sigmerson in Montreal, Canada, in front of 15,000 people in the middle of October at the Ladivi Mark 10 competition. And that competition, we throw 56-pound block weight over the head behind us for distance. We do a 2-inch squat. The winning weight was 1,900 pounds. I did 1,700. We move a wheelbarrow. It starts at 2,400 pounds, and we move it 15 feet with no straps. Rather difficult. The winning Mark Higgins for Birmingham won with 3,000 pounds. I failed in my heavies of 2,700, but I did well enough in the first three. I won the stone throw. The last event was 200-pound sack on the back, 50 meters through the forum, back and forth 4 times, 200 meters. I was able to win the stone throw and the sack race and win the competition. This is the only standardized competition in strongman throughout the world, and John Paul Sigmerson in that one, his promoters weren't involved. He took 5th place, so it sort of put it back a notch. Just recently, we had the World Power Classic, and there were 6 events. Some of the strongest guys in the world were there. And Risto from Holland, from Finland, Ed Walters from Holland, Mark Higgins, who was runner-up to Jamie Reeves, Britain's strongest man, and John Capes and John Paul Sigmerson. Now this again was put together by John Paul's promoters, and it was his events on John Paul's field. I went in and was lucky enough with a pretty serious injury to my arm to take first place. Capes was second, and John Paul took third. The lifting I was going to do today, my lifting really isn't that heavy compared to what it was. To tell you some about what I've done in lifting. When I first started off, after a couple months, I bench pressed 400 pounds. That's probably as heavy as I'd want to go today, or somewhere close to there. It wasn't but a year I was bench pressing over 500, and the second year over 600. I started setting my world records when it was 611 pounds. I broke it to 617, then moved it to 622, 633. In my final big meet, I did 639 and 661, and I was just moving. It was before the bench press shirt, and all the weights were accurate and that sort of thing. It wasn't one of the Hawaii meets because we feel like over in Hawaii guys are lifting 100 pounds more than they lift anywhere else in the world. A lot of their weights are light or something like that. I don't know. I don't know if many of you read about the powerlifting coming out of Hawaii. Guys like Fred Hatfield are able to squat 1,040 pounds, and 8 weeks later in the big meet, the Nationals, he squatted 848. Hawaii's down 200 pounds, we don't know, but they call it the record breakers meet, and that's where all the records are broken. The lifts that I did were kind of in a different era. They were in the early 80s. I had a serious injury to my pectoral in a World's Strongest Man competition, which stopped me from bench pressing. And I made a comeback after that. I'd like to tell you a little bit about that injury. In the strongman show, they told us to practice with hot rolled steel, which is just regular machined steel. It isn't much. I bent a piece that was about 3/4 of an inch thick and 3 feet long in 81. I'm sorry, in 1980. In 81, they gave us a piece of steel that said, well, it's shinier. It just looks better for TV. It's the same stuff. They told us to practice with the hot rolled steel. The stuff was cold rolled, which makes it about 3 times as strong. But I used something called kind of tunnel vision. I really focus on what I'm about to do. I don't really care about what the implement is. When I'm doing it, I sort of block everything out. And I grabbed a hold of this cold rolled steel and I pulled as hard as I could. I started to push it together, and the pectoral just ripped off right in the belly. And there wasn't much I could do. There were 3 or 4 more events. The squat, where Dave Waddington all week had been saying they did an outtake him on TV. He has the strongest legs in the world. So what I had to do then was rotate the arm backward and downward, and I squatted 970 about an hour and a half later to beat Dave Waddington in the squat. An hour and a half after that, I lifted 960 in the deadlift, and not only did 1 but did 2 because they were kind of making me mad because I wasn't putting my shoulder back, but it was ripped off, so I really couldn't put it back. And there's been some fairly serious injuries along the way. I made a comeback the next year in 82 and still won the World's Strongest Man competition. And as I told you earlier, in 83, I came back in powerlifting and won against Andy Kerr in Sweden, won the World Championships in powerlifting. But then I sort of let it go. lot of different ways we can go with all this stuff. I really don't like to just talk about all the lists I've done. I mean, if you've ever read the magazines about what I've done, that'll pretty much cover it. Something we were going to do tonight was a dumbbell press. I think the biggest dumbbells you have is the 120s. I have flipped a couple of other records in my time, and one of them was a fellow in Canada, Doug Hepburn, and lifted 150 pounds in each hand in the dumbbell press overhead for 1 rep. And I was able to eclipse that by taking a pair of 155s and doing 10 reps. Did 10 reps. About 10 minutes later, I grabbed the 165s and did 5. So you have 120s. I'm going to see how many I can do with those today. Jamie and I were doing dumbbell presses earlier this afternoon.
Excuse me, Bill, we've
Yes.
got a bonus actually, because we've only got hundreds of it tonight.
This afternoon, Jamie and I were doing a shoulder routine, and then went into chest. But starting off at shoulders, we do a lot of front raises, side raises, light dumbbell press, and then work on into heavier dumbbell press. We worked up today to 140 pounds for 10. I told you the serious injury to my pectoral in '83 as I was about to enter the World Championships in Sweden in powerlifting. It was a drug-tested contest, so I went off the steroids and had to be clean for the competition. It was my first competition like that. I was squatting, I was just as strong as I'd ever been, but I was real tight. I wasn't recovering from the workouts, that's obviously what the anabolics do for you. They help you recover, they help you build mass, and that sort of thing. I was coming up with an 850 squat in training, and my coach, Tony Fitton, said, look, I was really hurting in the shoulders, because after I tore the pectoral, I moved my grip over just a little bit, and I was putting a lot of pressure on one shoulder. It was hurting me a lot. So in the squat, I was favoring the shoulder, and I came up real slow with about 800. The next set was 850, so just jam this one up quick. So what I did, came up real fast, the bar bent, and it popped the axillary nerve in my shoulder. And a few days before my chest routine, I had done 600 for a couple on the bench after the pec tear. I was doing 95-pound front raises. When I went to the contest, I couldn't pick up my arm. I had to pick it up and set it on the bar. It was actually 1 year later. I take my arm like this, it just wouldn't work. And finally I was able to raise it up. And now I'm back to doing 80, 90 pounds in the front raise. But that's another serious injury. I went into the World Championships against Andy Kerr with that injury. After doing 600 for a couple reps in the gym, I did a 501 feet. I was able to win with that.
Excuse me, Bill, can you just interrupt us there?
Sure.
We've got the local press in, they've got other engagements.
Fantastic.
Could you just pick a couple of girls up in one in each arm while they're just
A bit stuck with
You're not too demanding here at all. You know, my biggest problem with picking up girls is that I don't let them go afterwards. Thank you very much. Jamie, can you pick up one? I'm not much good with more than one girl at a time. How are we going to do this? I know. You guys stand up here. We're going to make this real easy on me.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. We're cheap a bit.
I hope you're ready. I believe they're opening themselves up.
One more.
That one more time that always gets you, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Jeez.
It's fine. Thanks a lot.
Well, what we'll do is we'll change it slightly. Don't go with it. Come back.
Leave the girls.
Right. Just to give you a bit of a rest. You don't forget the girls. It's been done before, I'm afraid. You stand, you hold, and the girls just having a feel of you. It's a bit steady at
I hope
times.
you all don't mind the interruption. Okay. Are they going to stand up or they're just going to stand up?
Hello? You're going to stand up as you are. One of us would have done that. Right, come in nice and close. Right. So what you're going to do is if you lift your arms up. Right, girls, come on, have a look at it. Right, come on, put your hands up. That's it. All right, big smile, okay? That's fine. A couple of quick picks and out you go.
I hope someone will remind me where I was in my delivery. Can't really
Okay,
remember.
big smile, please. That's fine. Come on, Bill, you'll look happy with that.
Oh,
You had a big smile when you picked them up. You look so happy now.
You didn't see where my hands were, did you?
Come on, girls, you're supposed to smile for that. All right.
They're cramping up, actually.
Okay. To me, ladies, please. I'll do nicely. Thank you.
Thanks again, girls. And where were we?
Amazing,
World
right?
records with lifting and all that. It's easy to get lost on that stuff. It's been a couple of years ago. Let me tell you what I'm doing recently while I'm in England. I've been competing in the Highland Games. Jeff Capes has organized a dozen of those this summer. And John Paul's promoters up in Scotland, David Webster and Doug Edmonds have put together another 10 games. And I've been doing those, running as far down as Dorset, Poole, and all the way up into Ericsson, north of Scotland. And getting pretty much all over your country and enjoying it quite a bit too. There's hardly enough time for me to train because I'm doing so much competition and so much traveling and a number of seminars. But as I said earlier, we've already trained twice today, and a little bit more tonight won't hurt. We're preparing for a competition, which is the most important to me this year, which is in Budapest, Hungary, World's Strongest Man competition. We'll be doing events, if you've seen them on the TV, like holding a weight out front, pressing a log overhead, pulling a big truck, 6.5 ton. We'll carry a 200-pound sack, maybe 50 meters, and then drag back a 400-pound sack. We'll do a lot of that kind of stuff. Throw a 56-pound weight for height over the bar. Move the McLaughlin stones. And we'll do one loading event. We're practicing barrels today. We're not sure whether they'll give us sacks or barrels or whatever it is, so they'll probably be loading on a flat surface, but what we did today was carry barrels up a hill, something like that, which really stimulates the heart. And I don't know what, I'm having a hard time breathing now, but I'm not in all that good a shape. In training for these strongman competitions, it's really important to practice the events. We keep a real strong base in the power lifts, squats, deadlifts, bench presses. One of the other lifts in this competition is the deadlift from 18 inches. So we pull from right below the knee rather than pulling so much off the floor like we did in powerlifting. A little extra work, we do the heavy dumbbells for the log press overhead. We don't really need much chest strength, so my chest strength isn't all that high at present. So I'm kind of making an excuse if I don't do that much later. What would you all want to know about as far as myself? I mean, we can get into reps and sets on the difference between bodybuilding, powerlifting, things like that. A little bit of diet. What I do for my diet is real simple. I just overeat. Chasing Jamie Reeves' body weight. I weighed just over 22 stones today, and he weighs 23, about 15 pounds ahead of me. We're eating a lot of rice pudding, really good quality protein and high quality carbohydrate. We eat a lot of potatoes for energy, a lot of pasta. We don't eat that stuff late at night. We eat it during the day or before, right around the workout. And we take in high quality protein supplements, amino acid tablets, powdered protein. We drink a great deal of milk. We've, as everybody should from the 4 basic food groups, but a lot of dairy products. And we take in plenty of raw fish, green leafy vegetables, and fruits for energy. We don't really eat that much steak unless it's just because we like to chew and we like a steak. It really is that high quality protein is about 20%. It's got a lot of fat and a lot of toxins in it. It isn't a good source of protein unless you like the food, and that's why most people would eat it. We get our protein mainly from fish, but almost all the time from chicken. That would be our meat source. As far as supplementation, we take multiple vitamins and minerals. An analogy that I talk about is real simple with your vegetables and your fruit. An orange that's picked is usually picked green. Within 48 hours after it's picked, all the vitamin C is gone from it. And those are shipped a couple of weeks. They set it in the supermarket. So it's going to be hard to get any of your vitamins out of your fruit or vegetables unless you're getting right out of your backyard. Anything that's frozen or canned is going to be destroyed as far as vitamins and minerals also. So in order to take care of the vitamin and mineral need for the body, as you all know, vitamins work as a catalyst with your food to help break it down, take it throughout the body, keep everything really healthy and working well. So we use a vitamin supplement. Other than that, we don't really take in that many sugars, that much candy unless we go on a binge or something like that. Junk food or here or there. We're mainly so much rice pudding and other foods throughout the day, there really is no time to even drink something like water. We were talking about that on the way up today with what we're doing, the amount of activity and the amount of food we're putting through our body. We probably should drink over a gallon of water a day just to flush the system. And in fact, we're probably drinking a gallon or more of milk, but really no water at all. So that's about all I can say about that, unless anybody has anything specific they want to talk about.
You're not frightened of the cholesterol in the milk.
No, I'm not afraid of cholesterol in eggs either. There's reports and studies done throughout the world. A lot of them pro and a lot of them con. And I think a research study can show anything that the researchers want it to show. And some say you can eat a dozen eggs a day and nothing will happen to your cholesterol. Some say that it will kill you. But
It's all good in body fat too.
yeah, I think what cholesterol really comes down to. They say it's hereditary, and it really doesn't matter on what you eat. My cholesterol has been fairly high a couple of times, but it always goes back to normal.
Well, one of our shop putters a few years ago, it was just behind Capes. I used to drink gallons of milk, and he's stop it. The doctor stopped.
Now, I know Jamie drinks the gold top milk to gain weight, but I'm always drinking the skim milk, so we try to stay away from as much fat as we can, especially animal fat like that. And I think with the cholesterol and the fat, if you're really active and you're young, you can take all you want. But as you get into your later years and you're more sedentary and you're sitting a lot, I think that's when the sludge, the cholesterol, pools or puddles in your arteries and gives you the hardening of the arteries. So when you're young, you don't have to worry about it. Naturally, when you're 50 years old, you're probably not taking in a dozen or half dozen eggs.
I'm not done.
Are you? No, I'm not talking to yourself. But I mean, you reach a certain age, the chances are you're going to peak at about 26. And if we're able to hold on, Capes is holding on at 39, it's starting to fall apart. I'm in my early 30s. Somewhere there. And, I'm still trying to go strong at it, but another 10 years from now, I'm not going to be eating a dozen eggs a day, and I'm not going to be drinking all the milk, so I don't have to worry about the cholesterol. I'll take my body weight back down. I was up as heavy as 340 pounds at 81, and I went back to 270. Now I'm at about 310. And it's a little bit up and down, but it's been real gradual and not too hard on the system. I'll go back down to a body weight of 250 when I'm 45, something like that. Back down to 230 and just try to be as fit as I can. We have to talk about, doesn't all the muscle turn to fat? And what happens when you get a little older? It's obvious that when you reach the level that myself, world-class lifter, strongman has reached, you have the mastery of the body in all the facilities, and you understand how to work out throughout each of the muscle groups and how to stay really fit. And if you've reached that level, as we have, any other level down below is going to be rather rudimentary or simple. So as the years go on for myself, it would be very easy for me, and one of my fantasies is to be a bit of a Tarzan-like, to be able to swim and run and do a lot of other activities in my later years, and when I let all the strongman stuff go. So many different things we can talk about. Does anybody have anything they'd like to chat about? The more questions you would ask, the more you would stimulate what I have to talk about.
You mentioned steroids earlier on. You're not worried about any side effects, anything like that?
Well, let's address the steroid issue. I surely am not going to hide the fact that over the years, through doctor's supervision, I used anabolic steroids. I don't use them a lot. I use them at certain times during the year. I'm not working with any governing bodies or any amateur athletic agencies like who was the pole vaulter that was caught today. A real misfortune for the guy. And I'm not quite sure myself why the amateur athletics follows that sort of thing. I think we all use coffee, right? And I'm not gonna stand here and say I defend steroids. But if we all use coffee and then somebody who wants to run a long distance or be very agitated and really move fast in a sprint wants to take an amphetamine, well, I've done the same thing myself a number of times when I'm trying to squat 900 pounds, and it helps. So I surely wouldn't say some high school kid at 14 or 15 years to take amphetamines or something that gets him up for an athletic activity. What I actually promote is a person, and I'm a bit of a hypocrite, but person to reach his own natural potential the best he can through hard work and that sort of thing. And not rely on drugs or something like that. But let's put it in perspective, let's put it this way. Within just a couple of years, I was world-class, the best in the world. I worked with doctors that dedicated their life to endocrinology and the study of the hormones and how they work within the body. And through their research and their understanding of just how the drugs worked, and their testing of my blood, I knew just what dosages were safe, how long to stay on, how long to go off. I am that person who won the trophy, who wins the trophy, who makes his living off what he does. So in my own mind, I've been able to rationalize at certain times using hormones to gain weight and just do it for hard workouts. I'm not the 14 or 16-year-old kid. I'm not the guy who doesn't bench press 300 pounds, who might be considering or dabbling with anabolic steroids. To him, I would say, forget it and leave it alone.
Don't you think it creates some kind of a false situation where, it's basically down to how good your doctors or how good your advisors?
Well, obviously.
You're on two men on a level to put up their merit.
Well, it'd be nice if we were 100 years ago and I was Jim Thorpe, just a little bit better than everybody else. If you remember the Colorado Indian, my only hero. But in fact, the Russians and the Eastern Bloc countries have been so far ahead of yourselves and us Americans for so many years that, how do you compete? It's actually how good is your chemist, how good is your laboratory technician. In the States, we use a phrase, pharmaceutical fitness, and it simply, it gets to the point where the best drugs are the ones, the athletes. He who has the best chemist and best doctors is going to win. Blood doping has been going on for 12, 15 years, and all the things in track and field. I don't really want to take a stance here and go over and over this sort of thing. I often, before groups of young kids in schools, address steroids, and I'm surely not going to stand there and say, gosh, I've seen so many guys do this. I don't take steroids, I never did. Well, obviously with 22-inch arms, at one time or another I must have. But when I stand before these kids, I say, look, maybe there are side effects for myself. Maybe someday I'll have to pay the piper and for the music. But in actuality, there really aren't that many serious side effects. And as things, come out of the wash as the years go on, that's what the media will say. But right now, it's sort of a big taboo and a big problem. But what I tell these kids is, and I talk about track and field, which is one of my favorites, and it maybe doesn't relate because it's a mile run. Simply, if a kid's going through college and he's running 403, 404, and he really wants to get into world class, he wants to be the best. He's really training hard, he's at his optimum. So one of the shot putters is taking him, one of the sprinters is taking him, he says, why don't you try these, Kid goes on and hits 402, finally breaks 4 minutes, that's 359. Just about at the end of his career, he hits 358, 357. About 10 years later, he looks back and says, gosh, it sure was fun running, I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't world class. I wasn't the best. I really wondered if I could have made it to 4 minutes all by myself and broken that barrier. And that's my analogy, is that I think everybody, excluding myself, should reach their full potential if it isn't the best in the world. On their own and without them. I see no reason for somebody to go ahead who's been pressing or squatting 300 pounds to be taking steroids, because the chances are I was squatting 600 pounds within just a couple of months, and I didn't take all that many steroids before I was squatting 800 pounds. But that sort of covers that issue. I don't know, I don't want to disappoint too many of you, but sure I took them, and I don't promote them. Let's talk about some things that would be more important to you all as far as bodybuilding, powerlifting.
How did you get over a bad injury? How did you get over a bad injury?
Some of the serious injuries that I've had, they haven't ever really been bone, tendon, or leg, or anything like that. They've been just red muscle. And red fiber heals really quick compared to white fiber because there's a much better blood supply. Over time, the white fiber will actually heal, but it takes so much longer. But what do I do immediately after an injury? We ice it for two days, 48 hours. Then we start to heat it. So many of us live right back into the event and we try to compete. Where what you really need to do, and I'm guilty of this because I need to compete, I need to win, I try to go right through it and forget about the injury, and hopefully it doesn't hurt me anymore. We bandage it up or that sort of thing, but the way to heal an injury is to ice it, then heat it after a couple days, stretch it real good, get the flexibility back in it, in the muscle group, start working it really lightly, get it in shape again, get it toned, because the muscle's going to lose all its tone after just a few days. Once you get it back in shape, then you can start gradually strengthening it over time. And in actuality, a pull to the hamstring or the quadriceps should probably take, to heal right, a couple of months. The chances are, though, that most of us, when we pull our hamstring in track and field, we maybe ice it a little bit, we keep running on it, we back off a little bit, but we're right back competing the next week, or trying to train through the injury, and it's really difficult to do that.
Can't you train light through the injury, though?
Sure. Well, there again, we're training through an injury, trying to train light, but in actuality, the best thing I think is to just leave it alone and try to let it heal. And once it does heal, then start to tone it again and then strengthen it after a period of time. So let's chat a little bit about the difference in powerlifting, bodybuilding. Obviously, the powerlifters are doing the 3 heavy lifts, maybe a little bit of auxiliary exercises. We would never do chins. We do really heavy pull downs, heavy arm work, tricep work, bicep work for control on the bench press. Leg extensions and curls, calf work just for the calves for stabilizers, the leg extensions and curls for a little more mass and to warm up the muscles before we do the heavy squats. The squat being the primary exercise, we maybe would do leg presses, or we would seldom think of doing hack squats because of the stress on the knee, and we need a lot more poundage. There's quite a bit of difference, obviously, between powerlifters and bodybuilders. Both using the same medium, we're both using the weights. We have sort of the same goals, but actually they're so much different. The bodybuilder obviously is trying to gain muscular tone, muscular size, symmetry, shape, all those sorts of things, fitness. I actually think that bodybuilding is really a hazardous and a detrimental sport if it's taken to the extreme, because I see so many at the top that the big gyms in the States, they're really fit, really great shape, they're really muscled well, and then right before the contest, they're starving themselves mainly all the time, but they actually put themselves in the hospital after the competition. Their body fat is down around 1% or something like that, which is really abnormal and very bad for them. So don't tell people that Bill Kazmaier said bodybuilding is really bad for you. At that level it is, but all the other levels, as in powerlifting,
just got my shirt back.
So bodybuilding obviously is really good for the body, because what you do is you isolate. Really, don't try to confuse me here.
Just name up what it.
All I said was that bodybuilding at the highest level is really a dangerous sport. Bodybuilding, as most of you would do it, isolating each of the muscle groups, working through a number of exercises to work those muscles, and doing it in separate sessions, doing upper body one day, lower body the next day, isolating all those groups, working them each a couple times a week is fantastic exercise and great for the body. I myself have taken it to an extreme where I try to lift really maximum poundages. My training is probably really different than most other powerlifters, because if you take the great Paul Anderson, as you may remember, our last Olympic champion in the States, even though he did the power lifts, a great deal of them, actually 1,200 pound squat, over 600 in the bench and close to 8 in the deadlift. It was way before his time, but he only did 1 rep, 1 set every 30 minutes for 8 hours during the day. And he lifted really crude weights, buckets, 55-gallon drums filled with iron and whatever he could find to put in them. It was really a crude method of training. It wasn't very sophisticated at all, actually. He never had anything like what you guys have, or what we see throughout the world now, the high technology. The last great powerlifter that I like to talk about is Don Reinhout, 6'3", 365 pounds. He totaled 2,400 pounds or 1,100 kilos. I was able to come up at 79 and 80, and eclipsed his total record just by 2.5 kilos. And I still hold the world powerlifting total record in super heavyweight. But what differentiates him now between Paul Anderson is he did a good deal more. But he's in the middle between the two of us. I'm on the other end of the spectrum where in about an hour and a half I do 50 sets, sometimes more. A lot of powerlifters will do maybe 10, 12 sets in an exercise. They won't do more than 2 or 3 exercises in a workout. And a lot of them are lucky to do 20 sets throughout my life. After I got out of college, I maybe had a couple of jobs for 8 weeks, but I excelled so rapidly in powerlifting, I started making my living off of it, and I always seemed to have money to be able to live. I've had that luxury to not have to work from 9 to 5 and then go off to work out. So for those of you who do have to, you have to not do quite as much, be a little more specific. You have to find exercises that work really well for you. Are there any guys in here that are powerlifters? You're all pretty much just bodybuilding, staying fit, and just using the weights to build a body and keep it going. So it's kind of funny though that you're bringing in the world's strongest man and somebody who has the background in powerlifting. I also know a good deal about bodybuilding, and actually what I do I call power bodybuilding, where I do many of the same exercises that bodybuilders do, only I handle a great deal more weight, and I probably do as many sets or more than most bodybuilders. But there again, the higher the intensity, the more the muscle tissue is torn down. Chances are, when you get to a meet, listen to that body, it's almost ruined. That's all you're ever going to press. If that's how you're pressing one plate, just think how you're going to press 4 plates. Probably like that. But this is how it's going to go. And I guess I could go up a little bit of weight. And point I'm trying to make. Jamie, you want to bench press again? He's really hiding outside. Okay. Just kidding you, Jamie. The hardest part is picking up a plate off the floor. You don't want to bench, do you?
No.
I'll maybe get Jamie to lift off some of these weights. The point I'm trying to make here is, in training, if you lift the weight really slowly, you're only sending enough messages from the brain, recruiting enough fiber to move the weight at that rate. You're never going to move a weight really explosively. You probably won't be able to lift anything really that much heavier. The way the body works is that it sends those messages, recruits the fiber, and tears it down. If you work really hard and fast, you'll stimulate that much more tissue and get that much stronger and build the body that much quicker. What's up? Would you throw this off? No, 1, 2 is fine, sure. Yeah. Got it. Oh, jeez, that's heavy. Let's talk. Maybe.
No years.
Oh, I think we were doing 20s today at about 3.5 plates, just over 3 plates. What we're doing here, you might ask, why am I not locking it out? Well, the muscles stretch, and it flexes, and it's done right there. The rest is tricep and deltoid. What we're trying to do is bench press. Oh, more weight. What we're trying to do with bench press is isolate the pectoral. Same thing in the deltoid. I always look in the mirror when I'm doing it. I'm not a bodybuilder, but stretch, flex. Deltoid's done right there. The rest is tricep. And that's actually how I injured my tricep. I ripped it off about 12 weeks ago, doing a heavy dumbbell press, 240 pounds, going after Louis Sears' record of 263. But usually done right there, but I started to push it the rest of the way. So the legal lift is to lock it out, and that's when I injured the tricep. But in a lot of the exercises, squat also. Squat down to parallel, come up right to there, you're still stressing the thighs, rather than coming up and standing and looking around to see if anybody's watching you. Squat up, back down, do about a 2/3 squat. If you do 8 or 10 like that, it's probably like doing 20, coming all the way up and resting.
So, when you're not squatting then, you don't straighten out then? You just...
Not really in training, down knockout squats. surely if I'm up over 800 pounds or in heavy powerlifting training, I'll stop at the top with a lot of lighter weights. Just go up and down like this. I'm going to put more weight on the plate. They're all blue, they all look the same. 44.
Yeah. There's a 44 on the floor there.
Would be a chance to put that fan on again, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Question or two about anything? Bench press is everybody's favorite. It came around real quick for me in just a year and a half. Right at 2 years, I was bench pressing 600 pounds. My best was 600 for 5 reps. I don't think I'll be able to get that tonight. Hopefully you don't have that much weight around it.
Make a bit more weight before you start on Bill.
You think you can bring it? You got 1,000 or 2?
Yeah.
Haul it in here.
Do you split your routine into body parts?
Yeah. Shoulders and chest. Shoulders is the most important thing for me right now. I'm strong enough, so we do that first, then chest afterwards. Before, in powerlifting training, it's always chest and then shoulders and triceps. We push one day and pull the next day. Do biceps, seated rows, pull down, all that sort of thing. All of you either do squats, or squat heavy, do all the powerlifting squat with some leg press. You do maybe partial deadlifts in the rack. A little more work on the back without really hurting it too much. The deadlift day, we do 5-bar squat before our side on the rack. So you're a little bit close together, we're working squats a little bit more. So we split it up so that everything is 2 times a week. You got more? Bring some more. One of the luxuries I've had for so many years, besides not having to work, is not having to load my own weights. It's one of the big keys to my success because as I step out from underneath the weight, and it's really hard to take a squat, for instance, and it's just about drilling it through the floor, essentially on a one-way ticket to China. But you're able to fight your way out of it and rack it, put it back on the rack. At that instance, when you walk out from underneath the bar, you can say, oh, more weight. I need more. Get down. My friend, I'm pulling your leg. Let's get to this point, that after you step out under a really heavy weight, at that instance, you can say to yourself, man, that weight beat the hell out of me. I'll never lift a heavier weight in my life. Or you can step out from under it and immediately convince yourself that it was an easy weight. You made it strongly. Your form was really strict and in good shape. You can handle more weight. As you sit down and you unwrap your knees, you loosen up your belt. Your friends are saying you can handle more weight. It looked good. You were strong. It was easy. You're convincing yourself, programming yourself that you can handle more weight. Now here's the key point. You don't bend over and pick up another 20-kilo disc and put it on. They do. So you don't feel it. And when you go to lift it again, all you're lifting is a bar. And if you get into that psychology of it, you're training on the rack with dumbbells, you aren't looking at the numbers, you're just going by feel. You lift a lot more weight that way. That's one of my big keys that I can't tell too many people, can't tell too many of my secrets when Jamie's here because you know how when a bullet hits its peak and it starts to slide down, he's the one that he's still going up. And I'm over the crest. 300 pounds. Oh! Got it. Let's pretend we can do another play. That was easy. What's this? Let's take this one. That's all right. Let's just do this with the in-between one. And then jump to that. How do I train the deadlift? Back when I was training off the floor, I do it once a week, really heavy. As of late, the events that we're doing right below the knees at about 18 inches. So that's what we work on. Just recently, I want to bring Jamie in just about every workout and hear what he does. So he's pulling 850 from right around the knee for 5, so that's what I did my last workout. And pulled 750 from 18 inches for 5. So that's the kind of strength level we're at. In the competition, when we're lifting the deadlift, we probably will get right up to 900. Guys will be dropping fast there. The winning weight will probably be around 950 or something like that. You've only got 100-pound dumbbells. Got it. That was as heavy as I went today for the workout. So, I'll go just a little more. That's about right now. Big Dave, you wouldn't have any chalk, would you?
I noticed the belt off the bench. You must have the bench.
I usually use it a lot, but I kind of forgot it for the first couple sets. Actually, I didn't feel I needed it. Really don't know why I needed any chalk for that, huh? But anyway, it's nice to hold on to the bar. Thanks, guys.
We have a rather knowledge found here, by the way. He was a former world champion, but he's not speaking up there.
Oh, really?
He's hiding around here somewhere. You can see him.
Go back to the jump.
I'm sorry?
Go back to the jump.
Who's that? He doesn't want to listen to me.
He's shy.
You know, everybody else thought bodybuilders and powerlifters didn't get along, but sometimes powerlifters and powerlifters don't get along. I'll stop there.
Can you say about the shoulder? What workout exactly do you mean? Got tremendous shoulder.
As I said, in 5th grade I was able to press that 100 pounds. 7th grade I could do it 10 times. 12th I could do deltoids. Genetics, as we people say. What's it all attributed to? Genetics or your mental approach? A little bit of both with myself. The deltoids, we do front raises, thumbs up with the dumbbells, and the side raises just to warm up. Then we go on into dumbbell press, kind of strict machine press, free weight press, as much pressing as you can do. Everybody says, how do I get stronger in the bench press? It's simple. Do more bench presses. A little more. Dave was real interested in the bench press. Does that answer your question pretty good? Just a lot of shoulder work. Cable, side pulling for the cable. As soon as your triceps are really tired from pushing, they don't work anymore. 2 more raises. The deltoid is one muscle group that works so hard. You can kill it. You can burn it. It's got to just ache. And if it does, it'll grow. But if you wait 2 minutes between sets and you go get a drink and you talk a little bit, your deltoids will never get any bigger. But if you just make them scream, do all your work in a short period of time, put your whole workout together for shoulders. A little rest between exercises is possible. Between sets, almost no rest at all. They'll really get stronger and bigger. Lost my other thought for bench press. It's all right.
You have an easy body part. You don't really need to train that hard.
Not anymore. But I was going to say the bench press. Dave wanted to talk about it a lot. Just you look at the lines in the bench press. I take a grip where my arms are at the bottom, bars at the chest. The arms are angle. Better show you the talk through it. One of the most inefficient ways of bench pressing would be straight down, straight up. What we do is tuck the elbows, come down really low, put the weight on the deltoids, the forearm. As we push, flare the elbows, the weight comes back up over the eyes. Pretend you were at a warehouse on a loading dock. Rather than lifting the weight straight up, slide it up a ramp to make it a little bit easier on yourself. Bring it down low, push it back high. Sort of trick the weight, you lever the weight. You're doing this, you get really strong pectorals and deltoids, but you're not going to be doing a really efficient and heavy bench press. So it's down low. Okay, another simple trick here now, if you want to get really strong in each of the different phases of bench press, especially off the chest, move the grip in about one finger. You emphasize keeping your elbows in really close, you just pop right here. Works lower pec and inner tricep, and you get real strong in that position. Here's your regular grip. Arms at a 90 degree at the bottom. Now you go one finger wider. If you're having a hard time, you push the bar up and you get right here and you're just stuck. Well, that's because there's a deficiency at the upper part of the pectoral. So you go one finger wider again. Now you bring the bar down real high. You stretch that hole at the top of the chest and you work just that, the upper chest. Arm high on the chest, wide grip. Put all those three together. Real simple. Bar comes down low. You got great explosion off your chest. You got real good mid-range strength. And you work hard high on the chest, so you lock it up. What you do is, any exercise might be a little advanced if you're not really into this, but this is how we've done it. We take the bench press as if it was a picture, and now the picture's been made into a puzzle with 1,000 different pieces. There isn't 1,000 pieces, but there's about 4 or 5 different ones in the chest that it's utilized along with the tricep, even some of the latissimus that are involved in the bench press. You take each one of those pieces of the puzzle and you analyze them, try to figure out which one's your weakest, which one's your strongest. You take that weak one and you build it up. When they're all working together, it's a nice unit that works together. Take some of those pieces out, you work on them, put it back in the puzzle, you try them again, you change your form, you change your grip, hit it in all different angles. If you want to bench press more, you do more bench presses. But if you don't really get into it, and you only do 2 or 3 sets of 10 at the same weight every week, that's all you're ever going to do. If you really get to the point where you want to do more, you just do more and try to figure it out as you're doing it.
Do you do any real close grip?
No. The bench press, when we're the regular grip, close grip to me is one finger. It's not thumb to thumb, or anywhere near there. Yeah. So what we're always trying to think is that incline bench presses aren't going to help the bench press. And a wide grip is not collar to collar. So what we're working with is something that's real close to your regular grip. But I know what you're saying for triceps. You might try prone, straight bar tricep presses or narrow grip bench presses. But we found a few other exercises that work a lot better. Dave, do you have a decline bench? No, I mean, don't get it. You have a decline bench. Okay. You can see what's happening, like if you're trying to build one of the pieces of the puzzle, the tricep, rather than going narrow grip, you're still using a lot of chest and a lot of deltoid. You can't get away from it. But now, if you go decline, body's decline, you're pushing like this. See what happens now. Triceps maximally stretched. Flex, there's constant tension on the triceps. You can go really heavy. On a tricep press down, you can't go very heavy because you're limited by your trunk strength. And the cable's always cutting into you and stuff like that. So we get on a decline and maximally overload the triceps, get it really strong, so that's one of the big movers in the tricep, in the bench press is the tricep. Another exercise we use is a bent bar, easy bar on the prone. Rather than doing a nose breaker, where by the time you get enough weight in your hand, you work your tricep. Somebody broke their nose again. By the time you get enough weight in your hand to actively work the tricep, you probably ruined your elbow. It just doesn't work. What we do is rotate that upper arm downward, lock it into tight to the side of the body. We try to lock the pec and the deltoid. We don't bench press it. We just do a tricep press, about a 3/4 movement. It doesn't touch the chest, it doesn't lock out. It's a mid-range movement, but it gets a nice stretch and a nice flex. Myself, when I was doing the 300 kilos in the bench, I was taking 400 pounds and doing 15s in the tricep press. And that gave me a 23-inch arm and really good strength in pushing the bar all the way through. I had a fairly narrow grip. See a lot of bench presses that are really wide. And they use primarily a lot of pectoral, obviously, in bench pressing. The narrower you are, the more tricep you're going to use. I try to use all the groups, starting at low with the low pec, run through the middle pec, catch it with the upper pec and front deltoid and lock it out. It's just a flaring motion.
Got one
That's
of those
bench press.
bars of your own, bro.
I'm sorry?
I said I've got about one of those bars of your own to demonstrate this.
With that easy bar press, it's the kind of thing that you have to go down and experiment with. And some of the good guys that come into the gym, a lot of guys come from all over the states to train at my gym. It takes like one set, 2 sets, and they know exactly what they're doing. There are other guys that train at the gym every day that I tell a bunch of times, and they just can't pick it up. They want to use their chest, their deltoids all at the same time. It's really just a partial movement. If you're going to learn it, you're going to be able to pick it up rather rapidly.
You don't get any elbow trouble from doing those, then, though?
No. Yeah, you see how when the triceps work in that nose breaker or the French press, I can't even get back there, you're going to get a lot of stress on the elbow. When you bring that arm down.
What about pulley push down? When you push them down?
Tricep press down on the pulley is a fantastic exercise for building the tricep. For myself, as of late, I'm using 180, 200 pounds, and you're sort of, as you press down, the weight pulls you back up. You're limited by your trunk strength unless somebody's holding you down. It's a nice warm-up exercise or a finishing exercise, but it isn't all that hot for building real strength. We're real selective as to just what exercises we do. As you can see the way we approach it, it's very functional, the training that we do. Exercise a lot of people, bodybuilders, use for shaping the tricep is the tricep kickback. Just swing like that with a dumbbell and, I don't know, they just kind of hang around and do their set. It doesn't really do anything, right? What we try to do is get as precise and exacting in each exercise as we can. Try to find exercises that do the most amount of good to the body in a short period of time.
Do any stretching?
Lately, yeah, I have patella tendonitis from not stretching my quadriceps. And Dr. Simple answer equation to getting rid of it is to stretch the quadriceps. So I haven't been stretching those, but as far as stretching the shoulders or anything, any of the other groups, I really don't. In the bench press, when I was at my strongest, I would take 3 plates and it wouldn't come anywhere near my chest. 4 plates would just start to touch the chest as I do 10 or 15 reps. 5 plates would hit there real nice, and I'd be into 8 or 10 reps for a warm-up. And then I'd go 5.5 plates, and then do my workout up around 550. Some of my best workouts are like 550 for 5 sets of 5, 575 for 3, 5, 600 for 1, 5. My best in the gym was 633 for 3.
Just say you was trying to build up for a competition, Bill. So
Yeah.
you was going in a powerlifting competition and you was going to do some benching. Would you do your small reps before the contest?
Yeah.
And then just do your
All the
big
way
one
up.
on the day?
And what I do a lot is, I bring the bar down, I do pause reps. Narrow grip, I pause it, relax the muscles, not fire it off. It's the ability for the body to send that message to the muscle group and recruit the fiber and get it to all to contract at once. The motor pathway is developed. And the more practice you do, the better you're going to be at a stop bench presses is what you do in the contest.
I noticed your blood started to often load it to your chest before you started as well.
As you can see, this pectoral is ripped off. I never picked the bar out of the rack myself. I always had a triple lift off. And when I was bench pressing really heavy, I pretended I thought of having a hydraulic spring that I never felt the weight. It was at arm's length. And that spring was being compressed and the hydraulic was easing it down and it was ready to go and then right up. And that's how it always worked. But that was the game I played in order to do as much as I did. I believe I still hold the world record for bench pressing the IPF. In Hawaii, where they use plastic weights, one guy, he raised his butt off the bench, which was illegal. He moved his foot, which is illegal. He didn't stop with the chest, which is illegal. And he didn't lock it all the way out, but he did 700 pounds. And Ted RC, they give him APF for some other federation. As a matter of fact, the guys that signed the paper that gave him the world record weren't even at the meet. And, so I don't know how they knew that it was a good lift, but I guess they wanted it to be a good lift. Anyway, so I still have the record of the bench. And I'm the guy that's kind of taken the bench and sort of taken it apart like a puzzle and figured it out. But I'll be happy to talk about the other 2 lifts, but they're...
So what about your bench then? Is that a good bench or do you prefer it? We have other benches which
Well, this one-
grip than that.
This one inclines, and it's wide enough so that you get a legal grip, and not too many people are going to go any wider than that unless they're wide in the shoulders. Fine for bench, it's got a nice spotting rack. Move it up for inclines. I don't really like increasing here when I'm going heavy, but I don't go heavy anymore, so that really doesn't matter. Yeah, fine bench. Shut it down. What's that?
Dumbbells now, Bill.
If you want to do that now, sure.
No, you can do it over there.
Well, I don't know if he's ever been a coach, but I could use a coach like that.
You do any abdominal training?
As a matter of fact, yeah. Use a baby decline, put a 50-kilo disc on my chest, do a number of sets of reps with that. I like leg raises. I like a cable crunch. Hold it, crunch down. When I'm doing the leg raises on the bench, I twist from one hip to the other hip, then to the center. I can tie weights between my feet. When I was doing wrestling in '86, had to be rather vain and had ripples on my abdominals, because I was before hundreds or thousands of people all the time. So, I did about a 40-set abdominal routine every day, other than my regular training, and it worked really well. One thing I can tell you all about abdominals that's really interesting, and it's kind of revolutionary. The fastest way to get into really a big routine and great development in the abdominals is to stretch between sets before the workout and after the workout. If you had never done a setup before, and today you did 2 sets, the only way you're going to be able to do 4 sets tomorrow, and 10 sets next week, and 20 sets a month from now, is if you stretch between sets when you start to cramp up, or you stretch after the workout before the next workout. If you've ever done a big abdominal routine, you get up in the morning and you can't even get out of bed, it locks up, man, it's gotcha. But if you would have stretched after the workout, you'll never lock up, and you'll be able to increase the amount of work you do in abdominals. It's really kind of an interesting phenomenon, but stretching helps them a lot for the abdominals. Real simple exercise. On your stomach, on your elbows, looking up. Twisting your torso a little bit. That's the abdominal stretch. 80s and 100s, huh?
Yeah, it's just normal.
When I stand here and hit this my first rep, can I stop? How we doing for time? Jamie's been to about 5 of these, Chris has been to about 15. He says I get long-winded sometimes. But stop me if I start babbling. Remember now, after we do this, for the next few minutes, I think we're going to question and answer and all that sort of thing. And anything you can think of, like, what do you think about when you psych up to lift a weight? That's a good question. There's about another 20 questions, but you haven't asked them yet. So. Baby weights. Is that Jamie? Don't drop the weight. I got to tighten my belt. I mean, it's going to develop the wall. Get it right. Now I know why he says they're tearing the building down. Moving across town, right? Anyway. It really doesn't take it for those, but when I did the 155s, I was really blasted. Just worked up the rack from 110, 20, 30, 40. I was going to stop at the 30s. I did 20 reps for the 130s. Then I went 140 for 10, 155 for 10, 165 for 5 was kind of a PR workout. On that day, I was really hell-bent to compete in the big strongman show and try to set a world record in the dumbbell press, so it was easy to psych up. Today, getting back to 140s, I jumped 80, 100, 120, 140, and Jamie had jumped 80, 100. He stopped at 110 and then 120. I figured, well, he's He said he was going to stop at 120, so I jumped to 140. But I went first, and I knew he'd follow. So when you have somebody that is as aggressive as a guy like that, Jamie, and as strong as he is, it's really easy knowing that he's coming right behind you to fire yourself up after all the years that I've been doing this. But what do you actually think about when you're about to lift? As I said before, you send that message, you establish the motor pathway. Success breeds success. You never miss in the gym, so you never miss in a contest. But after lifting the weight, you continually convinced yourself that it was easy. You do something, mental imagery, positive programming, in your mind's eye, in the motion picture in your mind, you see yourself lifting the heavy weight.